We travel a ton to bring you exciting, spooky content. Do you have a long, boring commute day in and day out? What better way to pass the long hours and countless miles than enjoying your favorite audio book? Listening really is the new reading. Right now, for the listeners of the SOS-Radio podcast, Audible.com is offering a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook download by going to www.audibletrial.com/SOSradio. You could download an audiobook of your choice from a selection of over 200,000 audio programs from any genre: horror, mystery, sci-fi, nonfiction, anything. Narrated by full cast ensembles, A-list celebrities, and unique performers. Help support the SOS-Radio podcast by going to www.audibletrial.com/SOSradio and claim your free audiobook now. That's audibletrial.com/SOSradio. No dash, listeners. If you have visited any of our websites, sos-radio.com, chicagosos.com, or supernaturaloccurrencestudies.com, and have watched our videos, viewed our pictures, signed up for our newsletter, shopped our merchandise, streamed our podcast, or played the What Do You See ghostly photo game, we want you to know that all those things are made available by our sponsor, GoDaddy.com. For listeners of the SOS-Radio podcast, GoDaddy is offering a whopping 30% discount on any new GoDaddy service. Buy that domain you've always wanted. Build your dream website. Sell your product, communicate with your fans, anything you need to get your business and ideas online and productive. To take advantage of the 30% discount, you must visit www.trygodaddy.com/SOS-radio.
Send an SOS to the world. The blood of the Messiah's flow.
Hello, loyal listeners, and welcome to the SOS-Radio podcast. All paranormal, all the time. My name is Jason Knight, president and founder of Chicago's own Supernatural Occurrence Studies, and your host into the unknown. With me, as always, are my fellow SOSers and brothers in arms, producer extraordinaire, Mr. Oscar Spector.
Hello.
Dave Black, SOS co-founder and Claire Sensitive.
Howdy.
And Full Throttle Joe Erie, Claire Sensitive and SOS
everybody.
member. Well, listeners, the Nevada Extraterrestrial and Ghost Odyssey rolls on. Today we're lucky, we have the pleasure to be sitting in Rachel, Nevada, the epicenter of conspiracy theory, alien activity, anything you can imagine, at the home of Mr. Ken Langley, Agent 0051. Ken, could you please say hello to our loyal listeners?
Hello.
Thank you for having us in your home.
You're welcome.
Ken, we came in. Ken had a whole spread set up for us. Very welcoming, very kind.
Yeah, the pine cones are a little bit dry, though.
I said he's comedian. Deadpan stare. Dave, shut up. I don't know exactly why we're here. Last time I was through this area, the ET Highway, Area 51 area, it didn't end well. Listeners might remember that. I got violently ill, couldn't finish my episode, copped an attitude with myself, and said I got unfinished business out there in Nevada. So here we are doing these Nevada releases. When we were here in April 2017, multiple sources said to me and Randy Tucker from Somewhere Out There Radio.com, if you are looking for stories about aliens, UFOs, conspiracies, abductions, all that good stuff, you need to seek out Ken. Didn't get a last name. You got to seek out Ken. And I heard this from multiple sources. So Ken was on my radar, didn't know how to contact him. Turns out the Alien Research Center, Desiree, hi Desiree, who's been on this episode on the show a few times, gave me his email. And I reached out and pleaded my case. Ken, this is who we are. Been told you're the person to talk to. And he graciously accepted the interview. I did not do much research on Ken at all. I didn't want to come into this interview with any sort of preconceived notions. All I did was go out online, search his name, saw he was out there, and said, okay, yeah, we got to follow this up. As I said, I didn't want to come in with preconceived notions, didn't dig into his past. All I know is that from sources, he's the guy to talk to. So this is going to be cold. This is going to be Discovery Live-ish. And with that, could I start with saying some of the rumors I've heard about you?
Go for it.
Okay. So, rumor one, you're a great cook.
I get by.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
You got congressional, or you got medals for providing food for top brass.
Yeah, and just thank you cards from the governor and all.
Thank you for governor. Yeah.
I catered Elon Musk's 40th birthday party.
Elon Musk's 40th birthday party.
Yes, I did.
So, rumor one, true. Very good cook, executive chef. You showed me a magazine where you had won Chef of the Year, I believe?
Best in Nevada 2012.
Best in Nevada 2012, thank you. Okay, true. Rumor two.
That was actually after I cooked for the governor. Actually, Krolicki, the lieutenant governor, after dinner came up and put his arm around me and said, hey, you're exactly what we're looking for. Do you have a card? And the next issue came out and had me listed.
Wow.
With a photo spread.
That's fantastic. So rumor one, true. Rumor two, you are either an alien or an alien hybrid. God's honest, that's something that was told to us.
Oh, well, people ask me if I ever seen an alien, but actually my mother passed away about 7-8 years ago, so not since.
Not since. Aha. Read between the lines.
I could do that, too.
Read between the lines. So that was definitely...
No, I talk to people from around the world, and they try to understand some things about me, and that's their only explanation, is I must be hybridized of some sort. Okay.
Rumor three, the three ones we heard, rumor number three was that you are either involved or ex-CIA.
Friends and family.
Friends and family.
I do not now, nor have I ever received a paycheck from the CIA, although I've spoken with them on occasion.
That sounds like exactly what somebody who used to work for the CIA would say.
I've had conversations with intelligence members, and not just CIA, but I live here. I meet people from the Department of Defense, all branches of the military, intelligence community.
Mentioned NASA off.
Yeah. I made that poor girl from NASA cry.
So are they contacting you more as a consultant?
Oh, no, business. I had a lot of business dealings, support for the red flags when the military is here. But as far as conversations, I got friends and family that are intelligence community members, and we talk. And on occasion, they'll ask me how I feel about something or what I think about something. But asked to do to attempt remote viewing, but I really don't do that well unless I fasted for 3 days, which I'm really not fond of. But,
okay, there's a bomb right there.
But no, I've spoken with remote viewers, and sometimes, like I said, they ask me how I feel about something, about a current event situation, what is my impression of it.
And has your impression ever been, I don't know if correct is the right word, has your impression ever been what they were looking for, what they were assuming?
I think they listened to their intelligence community, they listen to everybody and try to compile some sort of mathematical equation that's going to lead them to a conclusion that's going to be accurate, but that's difficult when you're not on scene.
Hence remote
remote viewing as far as what's underground. I had a friend doing that. But another guy, actually down to the little alien here in Rachel, they got patches and medals from all over the world, different branches. The very first patch that went on that wall when they first opened was from Doc Livingston. It was Dr. Norman Livingston. He was one of the pilots out of there, flying out of Area 51 when they opened that bar. And he was actually very dangerous at Vegas with that man. That very dangerous man to go to Vegas with. But yeah, he was doing remote viewing for the CIA then. He was trying to quit, which is not always successful. But he had, on the longest story, he had produced some real life evidence that he has substantial skills.
It's excellent.
Do they still employ remote viewers, or is that like a long dead?
I don't have a list of staff members over there, so.
Do you know if it's still active, the program?
As far as, like I said, anything that's going across, going on the other side of the hill, or intelligence and all that, active or something like that, I wouldn't be very smart if I talked about it, even if I did know, but it's pretty closed quarters over there. Everything is compartmentalized, and people that I know what they do. They don't know what anybody else does.
Wow.
It's above their pay grade.
Okay. And, of course, when you say over the hill, you're referring to...
Oh, my neighbor.
Area 51. Your neighbor. Yeah, so we're sitting in Rachel. Census 2010, 54. Am I correct? 54 population here in Rachel?
Yeah, it depends on what day it is.
Who's in town. So Rachel's famous, of course, for being the last populated town before Area 51 proper.
This is the closest you can get.
Closest you could get. Okay.
Which direction is it?
Out that window. And actually, if you had a pair of binoculars, you'd see the top of Bald Mountain there, which has got technology, observation technology. You can see the cameras looking back at you if you look out my window.
Oh.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, they actually...
So what happens if you hike up one of those mountains?
You go to jail.
Yeah.
Flat out.
A lot of people are saying just shoot to kill. Shoot.
No, actually, the guns are drawn. Actually, rifles are drawn. They're live. You go face down in the dirt. You don't pick up the phone you just dropped.
Right,
and,
right.
They don't do anything but hold you face down in the dirt until the local sheriff gets out here. It's a long drive. They don't like to come out here, so they sometimes take their time. So anyway, after you go to jail, you pay all your money. If you get arrested on Friday, you probably won't see the judge till Tuesday. So it's an expensive proposition.
Do it Monday, yeah. Do you feel, before we get into other topics, do you feel you're being surveyed here?
Oh.
Because you are public about...
Well, I actually don't feel about it. I just know it is. All the conversations, data bits.
Do you think we're being...
Hardline and mobile.
Do you think we're being observed right now?
Okay. That
recorded?
Window blind, if you put the telescope that's in the other room out there, you can see the cameras looking at you from the top of the mountain on the test site.
Listeners, I'm waving to whatever's watching. We've heard about all sorts of deterrent technology for people just like us who come out seeking, whether it's nervous system, digestive system related, where it could actually interrupt your nervous system or digestive system, make you sick, in other words, as a deterrent. Audio deterrence, something that's basically inaudible, but your subconscious picks it up and creates disorientation. Video, heat signature, aerial, even vibration sensors in the road.
They can smell you coming about the level of ammonia in your sweat.
That's another one I heard.
That's how they can tell the difference between if you go out and put on a cow outfit and look like a cow, he can see you're a cow. They're still going to smell the sweat of a human and know it's a human.
We were just talking about that last night when we were out there. How could they tell the difference between a jackrabbit, which are in the thousands, and us setting off sensors? That makes sense.
They're clever people.
Right, way more smart.
And have a really big budget.
Endless, right?
Well, actually, budget is hypothetical anyway. There's always more money.
Where does the money come from?
Well, they did some eminent domain on a gold mine a couple of decades ago.
Really? We were just talking about that,
I was going
too.
to say, how much gold do you think was even under there? And especially, I mean, with the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases.
It's a really big test site. I mean, it's like from here to Vegas, from 93 to 95. They really didn't need another patch of land.
Yeah. If it was, I mean, but how do you think they probably wound up getting a lot of gold out of? Well, first off, what is? I mean, do you know? Oh, what's your opinion, or what do you know about DUMBs?
The deep underground military bases.
They call them
DUMB.
DUMBs. Yeah, but deep underground military bases.
Okay, what do I know about them?
The city underneath Area 51.
What do I know about them?
Yeah,
I know the extra low sublevels, humans are not allowed.
Okay. Humans are not allowed. Wow. So, which kind of brings us on to the topic. I made a comment, kind of offhanded when we got here, of being in the middle of nowhere, and it was not a sign of disrespect. It's just a bunch of city boys coming out to something we've never seen before like this. It's kind of in the middle of nothing, and you returned with, you just don't see it. It's everywhere. You just don't see it.
I was a first timer one time as well 10 years ago.
Okay, so 10 years ago you did come here.
I was sent here by a Zuni Indian shaman.
Jim Morrison, we were talking about the Indian connection. So, did you come here specifically for this type of research?
No, I came here to fulfill a destiny. I was down in El Morro, New Mexico, Ancient Way Cafe Campground. Right after dinner, the waiter, Standing Feather, came knocking on my motor coach, and he was holding a red hawk feather. He said, "You left this on the table." I told him, "No, that's not mine." and then informed me that, according to the Zuni tradition, that meant I had a message. Sent me 20-something miles off-grid to the Zuni Mountain Sanctuary to consult with the shaman. Shaman held my feather, told me I had a destiny to fulfill, and sent me out here. Nothing about aliens, nothing about conspiracy. He just sent me here. Little did he know that I had named the motor coach Destiny. Because I wanted something besides a 16-lane highway 1.5 miles from my house in Atlanta.
I always say the world knows.
I was commuting up and down Georgia 400, 4 and 5 hours a day for decades.
No, forget that.
Less traffic than Atlanta here.
Okay,
less ground traffic.
Less ground traffic. These little tidbits you drop. Okay, so when you said to me that you just can't see it, it's everywhere, you cannot see it, what are you referring to?
Well, number one, I just like you were blithely unaware that the Joshua trees out here are what they are, and you can Google that if you need to.
How many thousands of years old they are.
But also, too, you're surrounded by technology that you can't see. It's in space. It's in the atmosphere. It's in the mountains. Is that really a bug flying around your head?
What about the clouds? We noticed some strange clouds, like like these fuzzy spots in the clouds didn't look like they belonged with the rest of the cloud.
And they didn't move with the rest of the cloud.
Almost like they were reacting to something on the ground. Is that
or geoengineering? Yeah. Carbon nanotubules, barium salts. Ask me any question.
See, I've had an experience, a couple of times in the past where I've seen UFOs, and one that really stuck out to me is all of a sudden I was on a camping trip for my school, like when I was in high school. This kid woke me up. He's like, Joe, you gotta look in the sky. There's a UFO out here. I wake up, I look, and I'm like, oh my God, it's weird. It's not a star, and it kept on spinning. It was red, white, red, white. It might have been a little blue, but it was definitely a red and white. And you could tell it was kind of like spinning, and then it would fade. And then all of a sudden, boom, appear again. Then fade into nothing, boom, appear again. Then it went on maybe for about 15, 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, it started fading. And then, boom, it went away. And then all of a sudden, right behind it, boom, the sky lit up with all these stars that were not there before. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening right now.
So do you want to know if I believe you, or do you want to know how they did it?
Well, this is, so this went on for a while. Then all of a sudden, the stars, boom, they went away, pitch black sky, and then that little thing was there again. And we had an experience last night where we saw an object moving.
Yeah, I want to tell that story separately, because it
no, yeah.
Recent and
but
intense.
With I feel they hide as stars. I mean, it's perfect camouflage. I mean, is that accurate?
Actually, you can be out here and it's a star, or is it because it's a little bit large? It doesn't seem that far away. For number one, you know the difference between a planet and a star by whether or not it's glimmering, floating. The stars will twinkle, but a planet will be solid. But then you're looking at it. Well, it looks like a star, but it's closer more like a planet. But then all of a sudden, after 20 minutes, 40 minutes, it's bigger, it's smaller, gets really big, then zip, zip. It's any direction, at any speed, and it's gone. Mm-hmm. And then your heart feels lighter.
It's crazy.
For those that are sensitive.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of something concentrating, disappearing, and then exploding into this constellation sort of...
Yeah, I saw that in Fort Wayne, Indiana back in, probably about 75.
So you've seen something similar.
Oh, yeah. But as far as what looks like a star or a planet and then getting bigger and smaller after 40 minutes, pretending to be a star or a planet so you don't notice it, I'd see that out here on a regular basis. And actually, you don't have to be somebody special like some people are saying, well, I see stuff all the time. It's there for everybody to see. Nobody looks up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you. Can I tell the story about last night?
Yeah. Really quick, though, like when you said people that are extra sensitive to it, I never know how I'm gonna. I could say I'm gonna feel a certain way if if I see a ghost, like I'm not gonna be scared or but you never know till it happens. And last night, I felt such a good feeling and just like a completeness and
during this event last night?
And I'm just out there, just on the top of my head. It gave me energy and I was happy and in a good mood. I was not scared at all.
Well, like I said, it's there for all to see, but nobody sees it because, number one, they don't look up much. When they do, they'll discount everything unless it pertains to their life that day. But also, as well, you're talking about being a sensitive. What's going on is that makes you look that way. You're sensing something. What you're doing is feeling a scientific vibrational frequency, something physical emanating from the object or the entity. And you're sensitive because actually the pineal, you may not drink fluoride.
Pineal gland.
Yeah, but anyway, the sensitivity is just, it's not making it appear, it's just drawing your attention to it. The same thing if a person was standing beside you who is not a sensitive would just look up, they would see it too.
Yeah, because I almost felt like just drawn to it, just my body. I'm like, I just wanted to go after
perhaps a quantum entanglement. That's how they do the teleportation, too, by the way. The thing is it real or is it Memorex?
What would happen if you flew a drone out here in your backyard? Like, what if you, like, just in the middle of the night, you stuck a drone out there in the field and put it up in the sky? What would happen?
It depends on how high up you go and how far back you go.
Would they shoot it out of the
You
sky?
can Google online, or if you have curious questions, you can call Nellis. I've got their number on my phone. They can tell you exactly what your limitations are.
Now, do they have a way?
We're talking about little. You can't be surveying the hillside back here where they're at. No, you can fly a little drone down by the bar or something.
Now, would you be able, like, if you were to make your drone stealth, take the lights off of it, things like that, would they still be able to detect it? Like if it was a small one and you got it really high up and brought it out there?
Oh, okay, that's like Elmer Fudd hiding behind a tree. It's not going to work.
But would they be able to?
Is it
pinpoint something that small or
trackable on radar?
They know what your body temperature is right now, and it's not somebody that's sitting there at a monitor looking at it, with it being registered like you're watching a Hollywood movie and they're going after the alien. What they're doing is it's the supercomputers run all the data, and the AI decides what's pertinent. And like I said, if they need a live meat guard on, the computer will queue it up and say, hey, somebody look at this.
Wow.
Metadata.
And that AI thing is something else I want to get into in a moment here. But last night, coming home from Tonopah, Dave forced us over on the side of ET Highway. I'm glad he did. And before you start naysaying, let me get through the story. You guys could corroborate, Oscar, Joe. Pulled over the side of the road, got out just in awe of what we saw. The Milky Way, the loneliness that we felt, how small we felt in the middle of this whole thing. It was just incredible. And we were sky watching, kind of talking amongst ourselves. We weren't even recording anything. And all of a sudden, off in the distance, over a mountain, we saw this bright kind of light in the sky. It stood out from the others, and it drew our attention. And as we were standing there watching this light, it started performing maneuvers, silent maneuvers, shooting to the left, shooting to the right, zigzagging, Z-shape, coming forward, dropping back, apparently. Underneath, at the mountain range, at the top of the mountain range, we would see this flash of light twice, correct? Mm-hmm. Was it a lot more? This thing was pulling acrobatics in the air, completely silent, dead stop, boom, bust to the right. Dead stop, bam, slam to the left. Z. I thought at one time it'd make like a figure 8.
It was weird. It was almost like a magnetic. If you have like magnets against, and the energy between just go, like it's like it was so sporadic that the way it moved, it was almost like it operated like in a certain field. Like there was a range. It didn't pass, but it kind of just it wasn't just a direct right and left. It was sporadic. Like just randomly.
General Electric holds the patent.
Well,
you're laughing.
No,
General Electric holds the patent.
And
GE Gravitics.
Mm-hmm.
I was surfing the patent office online.
GE Gravitics.
And this was back during Windows 95, which means it took me a long time. I was weeks. I was just surfing the patent list. And I didn't pop it up on a search. I just came across it. General Electric has held the patent on gravity manipulation. Mm-hmm. Sometimes referred to as anti-gravity. Anti-gravity would indicate that you're fighting gravity, whereas gravity manipulation, it creates its own gravity well. And that's easy enough to do, creating the gravity well. The question is, how do you get that much energy? Because you're talking about massive amounts of power, and how do you get the science is there to do it, but where's the energy coming from? And that's the big secret.
From what I another thing with Dave and I, sometimes we could see we call it's called beveled air. It's like it almost looks like heat waves or free flowing energy,
kind of like heat rising off a road.
And how like Tesla, with the free flowing energy, and I believe possibly it's like the Egyptians and all the ancient cultures used this before, and now they kind of just dumbed us down, and what the gravitational energy that they're using, they're pulling it from the energy that most of us can't see or feel.
Who is they?
The government or aliens.
The government doesn't exist.
Okay.
That's a blockbuster movie.
So they're
going on for all to see for millennia now, and it's just all for show.
So is what we know as the government, it's alien.
No, they're just humans running around thinking they're important.
Okay.
They've got absolutely nothing to do what really goes on.
I get where you're
they
going from.
think they think they're
it's just a layer.
One.
All it is just a layer.
Yeah, I've got a niece that has a higher security clearance than the president.
Wow.
Okay, I get that now.
No,
you got to read really deep in the
It's compartmentalized, and need to know. And there is so much that goes on out here because the presidencies are transient. You never know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Things that are vital and super secret, they don't hand out unless he needs to know that day, or she.
Could you imagine what we would know right now if somebody gave any sort of information to Trump? He would be on the news the next day. There's aliens and everything's real.
Twitter, yeah.
But there's more to the story, and very few know it all. Very few, like a handful globally. But they can tell him what they know, but they can't tell him what everybody knows. And stuff like that, they don't keep on a database.
Yeah, the president is really like probably the most sham puppet government official ever, because they're basically just a temporary face of the government, and then there's all these people pulling the strings behind them.
They're the superstar to draw the attention away from the bad dancers.
Right.
Oh, good analogy. I like that. I do want to finish the story because Dave...
Here, Oscar, you interject here.
Yeah, because we were 4, obviously, on ET Highway. 3 of us were standing in different locations on the highway. So we're getting 3 different perspectives focused on the exact same object. We weren't standing on top of each other, of course, and getting the same perspective on the same object. 3 different perspectives on this object that was moving so erratically in the sky. And we would all see the same pattern movements and call it out to one another.
Right, I was motioning it with my hand.
Right, shoot to the left, shoot right. Now he couldn't see it, which is also anomalous, is strange. 3 different perspectives, same movement patterns, 4th person not seeing it till much later in the event. Right. We freaked out. I mean, I'm personally afraid of ETs, extraterrestrials, not ghosts. but ETs. They just freak me out. Joe's the alien guy. So I was in like blissful panic. And listeners, I did do about a 20-minute recording session once I gathered my bearings, and someone said to me, "Why aren't you recording?" I'm not sure where I'm going to put that footage, if it's going to be in this episode or the Live from ET Highway episode, but listen for it. Once we were kind of, okay, getting ourselves back under control, Dave stepped in.
Right. Okay.
So Oscar saw this thing as well, which is normally not like Oscar usually doesn't see anything or.
Well, I mean, it's like I'm not a loud-spoken skeptic like David, meaning I'm just keep it to myself. Like if I don't believe it or if I don't see it, I won't say I saw something. I guess
for me,
if I don't feel it, I'm not going to pretend I did.
When I'm in the midst of experiencing an event, when I'm actually there experiencing something and seeing something, hearing something, my first instinct is to always, take a deep breath and figure out what are the possibilities here? What might be a natural, normal, completely rational explanation for this? So these guys are all freaking out seeing this thing in the sky moving around. And I had to clarify like a half a dozen times. I'm like, are you talking about that one bright star over the mountain right there? That one bright thing? And they're like, yes. You don't see it moving? And I'm like, no. It's completely stationary.
I'm getting angry. I'm like, how could you not see this?
It's completely stationary. To me, it's not doing anything. It's just a slightly blinking star in the sky that's a little bit brighter than whatever other stars are around. And they're freaking out and telling me it's moving back and forth and it's zigzagging. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it move at all. I'm not seeing it do anything. And then it took like a good 5 or 6 minutes of staring at this thing to kind of start to see. It almost looked like, if you could imagine, like a marquee sign with like the moving neon or whatever, like a blinking hotel sign that said, live nude girls or whatever and it just looked like 3 lights, like 3 dashes, like it would be blink, 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 and it would be in a different spot each time. And I'm like, okay, what we're seeing is just a star. It's got to be an optical illusion. Maybe there's some wispy clouds moving in front of it that we can't see that are breaking up the pattern of the blinking or whatever. And that's all we're seeing. And these guys are freaking out, telling me, like, the way they were talking about it, you'd think it would be like just zigzagging all over the sky, miles in every direction.
POV,
but it didn't move from that one little pinpoint in the sky the whole time I was looking at it. And then when we got in the car and drove away, it's still there for as long as we're driving and you can see it. I'm like, it's just a star. Like you're looking at a star, and.
Until it got bigger and smaller, changed color, and zipped away.
No, it didn't do any of that.
The funny thing
it was there the whole time, for the next 45 minutes as we were driving. Like as long as we could see it.
That doesn't mean anything either. That could mean nothing.
No, dude, like I said, I've seen that happen, but it's been after 10 minutes, after 40 minutes, after an hour and a half.
Yeah. So basically, wanted your take on it. What you thought that might have been.
Mobile warfare platform.
Explain.
I mean, it's pretty obvious.
the big battleships in Captain America. That you think it's a boat and it's going to sink, but no, it goes into the air instead.
The sky thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, mobile warfare platform that has a capability for cloaking. It has a capability of dimensional shift. That's how in gravity manipulation. It's all in the quantum level of mechanics and science. Quantum entanglement, just creating your own gravity well. Science. If you've ever seen it in a science fiction movie, they can do it.
Hey, does it have a sphere?
My question for all these lights in the sky sort of stuff that people see. For all these lights in the sky that people see and stuff, and the supposed spacecraft and stuff, why would any of them need lights on them? Why would any of them need visible lights on them? Is what I'm wondering. Like, if you're an alien coming to this planet or some sort of government ship or whatever, like, why do you need lights? Why do you need visible lights? Why not just be dark at night?
I'm pretty sure that the Apollo mission had lights on ours.
Well, yeah.
Oh, face.
I just think there's too many reasons why there wouldn't be lights on. Because why there would be. Sorry, it could be the lighthouse so they can all know where they are. It could be a beacon of something. It could be I mean, that's just
but light
expending
comes in
the
so many
energy they're
different
using
forms.
to operate.
I mean, it could be energy.
I don't
it could
wanna-
be
The technology is that
I don't want to beat
advanced,
this
though.
to death, this one particular event. I just
No,
wanted
but-
Ken's input on what that might have
If the
been.
technology was that advanced, why would they still need why wouldn't they be able to signal to each other with other things other than lights? You know,
Why would anything that's important to them connect with you on any level when you have no idea what they are?
I don't know, but I'm just saying if they don't want to be seen, why don't they just turn their lights off?
Maybe they're viewing from the ground.
I mean, if I pass a cop going, 10 miles, 20 miles over the speed limit, and I know he's going to come after me, I'll turn down a side street, and the first thing I do is shut off my lights. So
how do
he
you know
can't
that
see
they
me.
don't want to be seen? You know what I mean? I mean, what if they do want to be seen by certain people or certain things?
Observing from the ground.
Oscar said observing from the ground, yeah.
What if it's trying to get our attention or somebody else's attention?
Marketing.
Yeah, there you go. And other types of technology. I mean, the way that you're just saying it's like just for one race, alien. I mean, you know how many different races or species there are out there? Probably.
All I'm
It's
saying
like
is
saying like we're the only people.
when a stealth bomber is closing in on a target, I'm pretty sure they don't have their guide lights on.
All right, this. I mean, we're nuts. We're pulling at strings. I forgot the analogy I wanted to use, but I just wanted his take on it because for us it was a moment. It was something unexplained for the most part. But your rationale for it was clouds moving in front of this object, correct?
Yeah, there were clouds in the sky. There were supposed to be
Creating
clouds.
an optical illusion.
That's what I was assuming. Yes.
And then I will leave it at 3 people from 3 different perspectives viewing the same object.
seeing the same
seeing the
optical
same-
illusion. That's all.
I
I'm
don't
saying.
buy it.
Another thing too is
I'm not discounting that you guys saw it. I'm just
Right.
discounting
We got
that
it.
it was anything unusual.
a lot of sightings supposedly too where they produce clouds as a cover to hide in, or they it's almost that like the stealth technology where it's almost it's like almost like hologram-ish where all of a sudden you see it, then it fades in and looks like the sky, and then all of a sudden it glitches, and then you see it for a second, and it goes back, and it's the sky again.
Well, it either was a piece of technology, or they're just working on practicing with Project Bluebeam.
What is Project Bluebeam?
That is the
I've heard of it.
mass. It's creating a mass event seen all over the world using the sky as a movie theater screen.
Okay.
Holographic imaging.
Okay.
So if
And-
Jesus comes back, some people are Project
Okay.
Bluebeam.
And that's how NASA convinces us
Okay.
that the world is
that
round.
when they want to
because
have
it's really
a
flat.
unifying event all over the world, Project Bluebeam will shoot into the sky, essentially, that part of the world's Messiah. So here in North America, it would be Jesus. Somewhere else it might be Vishnu, it might be Muhammad, and everyone's going to have this unifying experience at once, and it's going to be their savior, Project Bluebeam.
Okay.
So that's how. Yeah, it's interesting. That's
Yeah, well,
interesting
the aluminum particulate matter that is going into the chemtrails has got multiple uses. One is holographic imaging.
Ah, damn. Wow, didn't know that.
Because we're on this subject, I have to ask. For species of aliens, do you know how many do we know of?
Good
Okay,
question.
well,
And are they good or bad?
I've heard rumor that just over the hill there is a large nose gray, a small nose gray, an orange, a blue, a reptilian, and a humanoid.
Okay.
But I can also tell you, angels, demons, aliens, the Nephilim, it's all connected as different words.
Mm-hmm.
And
Are there like?
that's what
Are they?
you're saying.
But
I feel that
the battle's going to be for your soul.
because they take off of they take our energy. Aliens, certain
okay.
species.
Drop alien and just say demonic spirit.
Demonic
Same
spirit.
thing. And even like the Greys, I understand that the Greys are actually grown clones because the non-corporeal entities, beasts from hell, have no bodies, and like a human possession, in a couple of movies I remember from the 70s. That to push buttons and switches and all this stuff, they need fingers or digits or something. So they grow the grays to inhabit, so they can pull switches and levers. But other forms of life that are pretty good at partying for, sure, I'll go along with Satan if he wants to let me eat the babies, then he can have the souls. I don't care. Bad boys. They are not our friend. They have an agenda.
Okay.
My assumption about the Greys was always that they were some sort of human-alien hybrid with the specific intent of being able to travel at speeds humans could not.
Well, number one, speed is irrelevant. Time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The level of science that we're talking about has got nothing to do with how many minutes or how many decades or millennia it's going to take to get someplace. It's instantaneous. It's a vibrational frequency, same as teleportation. First it's here, then it's there. And I want to tell you, if they've come out several times over the last couple of years about successfully teleporting a group of molecules or something.
They just did the other day.
I'm not entirely convinced that the commander on this base across the hill from me isn't bringing his dog from the house to the office on an occasional basis.
Oh, my God.
There was was it in China the other day, a couple weeks ago, where they were able to transport one particle to another spot, and they both existed in the same spot at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Is it they or is it a Memorex?
I'm not exactly sure.
If you brush up on your quantum level sciences, how they're doing that is quantum entanglement. It's like a monkey learns to use a stick on one continent, and then suddenly on the other continent they start doing it too. Time doesn't exist. It's the only way we can process data in our not so bright minds.
Yeah, a lot of my personal theories revolve around how our perception of time is not how time actually exists. Like, time doesn't really exist the way that we experience it. That we've kind of created our own reality, if that makes any sense.
We've given time to ourselves so we have some sort of comprehension.
Yeah.
Because in our limited intellectual capacity, we cannot understand the intricacies of all time, all space, simultaneous. But there are those that do. The
main crux of all of my theories and ideas on the supernatural, paranormal, aliens, everything is, I've been an atheist since I was 12 years old, basically. And people ask me, like, well, why, how do you, what created all this? And I'm like, and my answer to that question is, the entire concept of creation is false. Creation, the idea of a beginning and a finite end and beginning to anything, is not real. It's not true. Because every single thing that has ever existed has to come from what was before it, and every single thing that exists will become part of something else. No matter how you try to wrap your mind around it, it's a chicken or the egg scenario. No matter where you start in that cycle, everything in nature, everything in science is in a cycle, and there is no beginning to a cycle. So even if you believe in the Big Bang Theory and that this particle exploded to create the universe, well, where did that particle come from? Probably from a prior universe that collapsed on itself. So the only true answer is the universe just always existed, and everything in it just spawned from what was before it, and no matter how you try to wrap your mind around it, you're never going to get to the beginning, because there is no such thing as a beginning. Everything just always existed. It never was created. It never spawned from anything. It just was always here. And everything that exists will just continue on and on and on. Everything's infinite.
And the world is flat, and man can't fly.
Like,
actually, the world is flat. You can still get a good argument out of that one from some.
Oh yeah,
I'm
fully aware
about that the world is flat. What's your beliefs or knowledge on the hollow Earth theory, or the specifically like the Antarctica? Is there any reason that gets talked about a lot?
Yeah, marketing.
Okay.
The only thing you're going to hear is what they want you to hear.
Do you think there's bases and craft underneath the Arctic ice? Yourself?
Absolutely. They're, as far as not just there, they're everywhere. The high-speed mag trains, the deep underground bases. Mm-hmm. Salt Lake's a hot spot, especially the airport. But it's not just in a certain place; it's global.
Yeah, because if anything, it's like plain sight's probably the
hidden in plain view. Yeah, best way to do it.
But please understand, we're talking about an agenda. They want that stuff to be found now. Mm-hmm. They're prepping you for the big event,
the big reveal.
The big reveal, which is going to make everybody saying, Well, I guess God and Jesus didn't exist. It was aliens the whole time, which is precisely why these non-corporeal, demonic spirits inhabiting
I could talk to you for days.
And as far as in the Bible, the serpent, I don't recall a translation ever saying snake. I think it says serpent, which a reptilian would be a pretty good image of a serpent.
All right.
That's always my belief with my gut feeling with stuff. Ghosts, aliens, it's energy. It's all intertwined. I love the way you described it. You answered so many questions.
Well, if you talk to somebody in the 1920s about what a Lamborghini looked like, you tell them it's a nice looking car. That image is not going to come to their mind. It's only what they've been exposed to.
Right.
Like when they say that God came from the sky, to them that is a god. The angels, to them that was an angel.
Right.
For in another example, like when we're talking about reptilian, like the serpent coming from the ground, that's hell. Maybe the reptilians, maybe they're the darker,
the non-corporeal.
If there's nothing underground, it's a whole lot of wasted space.
Yes.
The only god that ever made sense to me was the sun god, because worshiping the sun makes the most sense, because without it, nothing would exist. Nothing, life couldn't exist.
Well, of
on
course,
this planet.
to each their own,
until it's gone,
whatever they believe is, as far as a god figure, that's up to them.
That would be for respective to carbon-based life forms.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was just discussing this with somebody the other day. When you hear scientists talk about life on other planets, they're like, "Oh, well, it has to have water, it has to have carbon." Like, as far as we know, but what if what if there's energy-based life forms in the sulfuric acid clouds on Venus that have no basis in carbon, that don't exist in our reality?
There are 5 energy beings seated at this table right now. I am not this podgy bit of flesh, nor the bone beneath that.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, exactly.
But that's just my idea is that, like, of course there's life on other planets.
Not so podgy.
In other galaxies.
I got the podge.
And there's nothing other than the physics that we have, that we know of on our physical planet and our physical reality. There is nothing to indicate that life cannot exist in a completely water-free environment, in a completely hostile environment on another planet, if that's how they adapted and evolved to those conditions.
Well, just to say something cannot happen is pretty arrogant.
Right.
Yeah. And it's kind of our whole existence
I've met some
SOS.
clever people in my days, which have been many.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about technology. You said we're surrounded by it right where we're sitting. Is this technology designed to observe us as a human race? Is this technology designed to strictly look up in search of? Is this technology designed to bring about the end of something, whether it's the end of a system of beliefs, the end of the world, total annihilation? What is this technology for? And then I would like to talk a little bit further about the technology, because you mentioned something very interesting, AI robots that roam these areas. So
you can see them on YouTube.
I haven't thought to
just
look,
go to
so-
YouTube, put in AI robot Area 51, and you can watch the video.
Have you seen them yourself?
I haven't seen one. My neighbors have, but I've heard them.
You've heard them. What do they sound like?
3, 4. Well, they're electric driven.
Are they terrestrial, or
all you hear is the tires hitting the gravel driving around town, and it's so quiet here, you can hear anything.
So now, Dave, your question was...
So they're terrestrial, like they're on like little tank type things?
They look like an ATV, but instead of having a seat and a handlebar, it's got a little technology box on top.
And what is it looking for?
I know they have non-lethal weapons on board. Whether they have lethal or not, that would be classified
is it
above my
possible
pay grade.
these are remote controlled, like a drone?
Oh no, you can actually a meat guard can. They're autonomous. They can tell when a lock has been tampered with. They can tell what's the difference between a goat and a man. But they operate independently. The square acreage out here is so vast, they cannot have human guards everywhere, so they have the AI robots.
So it's a learning computer. It functions by itself.
That would be autonomous. Autonomous.
Yeah.
But
cool.
If it sees something, it's obviously going to notify.
So that's what it's doing.
If it's bringing down a target with some non-lethal force, somebody that's in a live bag of flesh, meat body, is got to be notified.
So
but
that's
you could
what it's
also
doing,
take a little keyboard and override them as well.
And it's patrolling the perimeter of Area 51 or the property.
As seen on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll have to YouTube it.
Yeah.
I didn't think to look. What other sort of technology is out there besides the surveillance technology? What else?
Well, all the stuff that goes on the base is absolutely the finest pilots in the world, flying the most creative and engineered, like the Raptor, the old school ones.
Yeah,
they can dance. But you're looking at Gen 6, Gen 7, Mach 5 and above, and these little planes that they're building now, the F-35 Joint Strike Force. If you remember back in the early 70s, well, you may not, about the same time color television got big, they came out with Pong. P-O-N-G.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Bleep, bleep,
Beep.
bleep.
Yeah.
At the same time stream that we were viewing Pong as the new state-of-the-art technology and science, they were building the stealth bomber back there. So that's how... And if they were 50, 60 years more advanced a half a century ago than what they let on, if you understand anything about computing sciences, the more you know, the faster you'll learn is an exponential curve on how fast we're learning and advancing. Quantum computing on the head of a pin versus they sent the astronauts to the moon with a Casio.
Yeah, basically what we had as a Nintendo.
If there was a half a century gap between what was really going on and what we knew about what science was, and we've had this exponential learning curve with supercomputing, Supermind is fully activated, which is a rumor I heard at CNN back in 1980.
Oh, my God.
That's another story.
Where did the knowledge come from? Are you a reverse engineering believer? Where they took alien craft and obviously and reverse engineered it, created our own.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that they've done that. It's also, some of it's been traded. The difference is, between my viewpoint and the ones that are receiving the technology, is they think they're getting the better part of the bargain.
In other words.
Yeah, they're pawns.
One of the things that I've always said is any technology that we have right now today, the U.S. government had 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's essentially what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So we probably can't even imagine what we're going to have, by 2050.
I got a pretty big imagination.
But this agenda where they're supposed to come down, or all
the
these
big reveal.
Yeah,
right?
the big reveal. I've heard a couple of things. The one I'm most curious about is that they're going to wipe out populated cities. So we're more easily controllable.
I've seen the biodiversity map.
Really? Wow.
How did you see that? Where did you see that?
Click.
The biodiversity.
Click. Agenda 21. Bring the population
Agenda
down.
20. Okay,
bring the population down.
Okay,
The map of who and where and what is allowed to live.
Yes.
The corridors and areas for humans is extremely limited. But also, too, a smaller population is more manageable.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Listeners, look up Agenda 21.
So what happens with the rest? Their bodies are harvested by the reptilians, and their soul goes to Satan. Because they believed it was the aliens that did it, not demons.
Wow.
Best trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist, right? Wow.
I'm Kaiser Soze, by the way.
So AI technology, surveillance technology. Is your relationship, do you have a relationship, I guess, people who butt up against their personal property against Area 51 property, how's that relationship? Is it a contentious relationship? Is it?
No, there is no contention because everybody here just knows to keep our mouth shut about what we see.
Okay.
I've been threatened with multiple black SUVs driving in my driveway before if I didn't shut up.
Do you believe? Okay, with that, do you believe in Men in Black?
Okay,
is that a real thing?
It was just Oliver North and an elephant story, but I can't say any more than that.
Wait, one more time, please.
Oliver North and an elephant.
Yeah, no, Oliver North. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about all I can say about that.
Damn it!
Do you know of a purpose why the human race was created or put on this planet, or were we? 'Cause supposedly there's a theory that aliens put us here and they bred us as a slave race to mine for minerals.
That's a big story, but you understand where I'm coming from. Number one is I follow Jesus. I'm a Christian flat out.
Fair enough.
No, yeah.
I'm Catholic. I'm Catholic. It's all right,
We'll have a conversation after we're off the air.
Fair enough.
Maybe I can save you.
Oh.
But not me, Jesus.
Understood.
Not the Pope, Jesus.
Understood. I don't want to detract from Joe's question.
No.
So I guess that was your answer, in your opinion.
I mean, and it's just one of the... It's one of the theories out there that we were created as a slave race to mine for minerals, and like specifically like gold, and something that I'm curious about too is that Area 51, Nevada, the gold, the alien crashes. Is there a reason they chose this land?
Well, actually, I met one gentleman down at the bar. He been doing years of research. He came in with hundreds of pages of printed documents from his research, and he had told me that there is a geoglyph of a triangle on the test site land, and the geoglyph is a simple triangle. It can only be seen from altitude.
Okay.
And that if you take the sum of the three sides of this triangle geoglyph, multiply it times 10, go from the base of the triangle out the point, you come to the base of the mountain that Bob Lazar said the alien UFO craft are hiding in hangars that look like a mountain.
Okay. Yeah, I know
which
exactly
would
what you're
mean
talking
that
about.
those alien hangars had been there for millennia.
That's
and they're
crazy.
not ours.
Yeah.
I've also heard that during the 40s, Nazis came over in the same area that Area 51 is at and conducted a satanic ritual trying to release the gateway, open the gateway for the demonic spirits to enter this plane of existence.
Are you describing
So we're
Hellboy?
talking...
Hellboy. Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's exactly the opening of Hellboy,
Yeah.
No,
by the way.
What a coincidence.
No, I mean,
that something in Hollywood might be based on
Exactly.
real life.
Well, Guillermo del Toro
Yeah.
is a big fan of that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
he probably believes in a lot of stuff he's saying as a serious thing, and he creates art, entertainment to support those things.
Well, a triangle that you multiply the sum of the three sides and you come to the face of the wall where Bob Lazar had his UFO hangars that it can only be seen from altitude. Sounds to me like you got some splaining to do if it's just coincidence.
Lucy, you got some spoilers. If you enjoy the SOS-Radio podcast as much as we love bringing you stories of the strange, be sure to support the podcast by visiting our sponsors. The easiest thing you could do to support our podcast is clicking our Amazon shopping banners on sos-radio.com, chicagosos.com, or supernaturaloccurrencestudies.com whenever you want to shop on Amazon. It only takes seconds to do, doesn't cost you a dime, and we receive dollars based on your purchases. Visit our sites, click the banners, bookmark the resulting page, and shop on. You like surprises? I like surprises. Getting monthly mystery packages in the mail is like Christmas all year round. That's exactly what you get from our sponsor, LootCrate.com. All your favorite things delivered conveniently to your door each and every month. Collectibles, clothes, home goods, even pet supplies, all from your favorite franchises. Stranger Things, Marvel, Harry Potter, Rick and Morty, WWE, Minecraft, and more. Go to www.trylootcrate.com/SOS-radio and enter promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings on any new subscription to Loot Crate. Listeners, you have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to receive that month's crate. If you miss the monthly deadline, that's it. It's over. You're screwed for the month. Be sure to go to www.trylootcrate.com/SOS-radio and enter code Bridge 10 before 9 p.m. Pacific on or before the 19th to claim 10% on any new subscription. You got some splaining.
Well, here's a question. What is the tone of the rest of the world? Like, what do they have? Do they have the same things? Is there versions of government or whatever? I mean, is it a big, giant correlation? Like a New World Order share information with us? Or is it just, or are they independent? Does it matter where you're from? Because it can't be just here. You know, there's a whole other world to account for. Australia is probably a big hit, I assume. Is there anything like that you've ever heard of? Like other countries or other continents being a part of this ecosystem, agenda and stuff?
Well, everybody's got their own agenda, but nobody has any power.
Right.
It's all a distraction. If you keep everybody busy, all of them busy, right. Divide and conquer, they're too worried about themselves to understand the rest of the story or the true nature. Mm-hmm. But as far as science that goes on back here, the scale and grandeur beyond traditional scientific values is fathomable by only a handful.
We talked about Bob Lazar. What about Phil Schneider? Do you know anything about Phil Schneider?
I know he's all over the internet.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
But what I think about Bob Lazar and everybody else is they have seen and they are doing exactly what they're programmed to do, what they're meant to do. Okay. They did a psych eval on Lazar before he ever got a job. They knew exactly what he would do. They showed him what he wanted to see. And it's all part of the Great Deception.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
To promote the alien agenda that they've been here for a while, that they've actually seeded us, that they're our friends, that can help us. It's all a lie. The reptilians want to eat you. Lucifer wants your soul. The Great Deceiver. This whole thing has been building for thousands of years to exactly what's going on now. Give up your faith in Jesus, and everything's going to be better.
Do you think we'll see this big reveal in our lifetime?
You're talking about time again. Oh, by the way, as far as this lifetime, there's a girl, I've seen some videos of. Her name is Elizabeth Clare Prophet. She said that she actually followed the lost years of Jesus and followed in the footsteps where he went to, trying to follow his path through stories and history and documentation. And she says that, which I was not there to look at the tablets myself, but that while she was in the Tibetan mountains, some of these monks said, we've got records of your Jesus coming through here, and went to a cave, stone tablets, 2,000 years old in these Himalayan mountains, and then, according to the translator from the Tibet, Jesus actually taught there on his way and taught reincarnation.
Yeah, because reincarnation used to be in the Bible and everything, and then they took it out. Because
Constantine, all those slaves and all that, if they knew that reincarnation is a possibility, well, all those slaves would be jumping over cliffs and said, let's try this again.
Great point.
Exactly.
Let's try this.
And when you were talking about...
Round two.
Yeah, exactly. There'd be no control. You're right. Do whatever you want. Come back. Because when you're talking about the devil or the entities taking our souls, Phil Schneider talked about that, and about how basically the Greys or the reptilians, I forget which, but they basically get high off of our energy, our souls. It's almost like he called it equivalent to like us doing cocaine, but they just get high off of it, off of our souls.
They're feeding.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
What is your
Well, since they have no corporeal body,
Yes, they could be non-physical.
But they've got minions with corporeal bodies.
That's crazy.
What's your outlook on cattle mutilations and that sort of thing?
Does it happen here?
What do you think that's all about?
Well, actually, there's some photographs up on display in the New York City Center for Photographic Arts right now.
Really?
Examining a cow out back here someplace.
That's where I saw that.
Yeah, there's a Danish coffee table book out, and they got one photograph in there, which actually the digital copies I've got, I snagged off the CNN photo of the day a while back.
So it was you investigating?
Well, there's one out there. I was looking at a cow, but the other one had me in a lab coat and chemical shield standing by the baby grand piano in my living room.
Nice. Which is right over here to our left.
Yeah, well.
So what was your take on that particular... that?
How was that cow mutilated, and what was your...
Oh, it hit by a car. Okay, these guys are going to... They were out in the desert taking pictures. They want to sell a book, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And you want to take my picture by a dead cow? I could do that.
Right.
Want me to put on my lab coat and chemical shield and stand in my living room? Yeah, I can do that.
Do you believe in... Is cattle mutilation a real phenomena that's unexplainable?
Well, I don't know there's a phenomena. It's just like you see a dead rabbit on the side of the road. You see a dead cow.
Well, I mean...
Sometimes the coyote hit the rabbit. Sometimes a car hit the rabbit. Sometimes the cow got hit by a car. Sometimes the cow got scalpeled up.
There it is. So who's doing the scalping?
Well, my guess is there's some pretty big freaks.
So you think it's terrestrial in origin?
Well,
Someone is doing
there's
this.
a lot of stories about how they're drained of all blood, and there's perfect circles cut out of them, and
yeah. Well, as far as the aliens and demons or whatever, there's genetic manipulation going on. There's clones being grown, and I'm not going to report myself as a biologist or exobiologist and tell you how all this goes down. But if they want some cow parts, I'm not going to fight them for them.
But do you think so? Does it happen along ET Highway and?
I'm not a rancher, but I've heard some of the surrounding, not just this little corner of the world, but the region.
Okay.
Nevada has had some incidents.
Oh. So I have to ask. I mean, I know time is unfortunately moving on. Have you ever been contacted? Have you ever seen? Have you ever been witness to any sort of...
I have memories. That doesn't
UFO
mean that
activity?
whether or not they've been manipulated or not.
So
they have the ability to wipe memories, implant memories. Memories of my childhood between 67 and 73.
And what happened to you?
And memories of being on a vessel.
Whoa.
Memories of tests being run. Don't recall any probes, but the last time I remember, which either could be a manipulated memory or a dream, but they were consistent, they were repetitive, and the last time I remember anything is the first time I ever saw the taller ones.
The taller ones, you said?
Yeah.
And what did they...
I won't say grays or tall whites because that's names that might classify and not be anything at all like what somebody else thought was called.
Got it.
There were some taller ones that the first time I had seen them was because the more demure ones were not successfully wiping my memory. And there the last few times I actually just got this feeling, not unlike some of my table partners here, that something was going to happen, and I was getting up, getting dressed, and waiting.
Damn.
And the last thing I remember was they called in the taller ones to help with the memory wipe. The grays had never really communicated. Hold on.
That just scared the...
Hold on.
Why did I jump? That freaked me out. Sorry. 1 second, folks. 1 second.
Hey, I can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of a radio show. All right, bye.
That made me jump. I don't know why. I was so enthralled in that story, and all of a sudden, boom. Oscar, you?
That was Nellis.
Nothing shakes Oscar. That was
That was the test I called.
Nellis?
That was the test I called.
Wow.
What we passed. Yeah, what we passed.
Yeah, that was the test I called. Actually, the number I call to get to that person is listed in the phone book as Nellis.
Oh, wow.
And then I just enter my extensions.
Huh. Yeah, we
Well,
passed
yeah.
that yesterday. You were saying about the tall ones and getting dressed. You felt
The taller ones. I asked them, first of all, the big question, what? What are you doing? Why me? What's up? And obviously, it was not verbal communications. I wasn't reading Braille. It was just impressions put into my mind. And actually, I was a little bit older before I actually had the vocabulary to express it in terms that someone could understand. But what was explained to me was they were studying my brain.
Wow.
And Can I Fly the Ship came next, which actually, when I was talking to Travis Walton, I was talking to Travis Walton's wife.
You talked to Travis Walton?
Yeah, I talked to Travis for a little while about his experiences, and one thing I found out was I had only seen the movie, and there were things that had occurred in his experience that were in the book but not in the movie. Okay. Well, as I had never read the book, which he was very well aware of, I started talking to his wife on a science conversation, and he had overheard something I had said to his wife about flying the ship, and he had just stopped dead cold, looked at me, and told me what happened to him was just like Stargate with the ancient Gene. He was wandering around the ship awake and sat down, and when he sat down, all the lights came on and stuff started moving around. Huh. Well, whatever they did to me that allowed them to interact with my brain, and by the way, the implant doesn't have to be in the head. It can be connected anywhere in your neural system. It's all connected. Okay. But I'll tell you what, piloting a vessel equipped with a neural interface is hot. I mean, the response was great. And where was I flying it? Streets of Fort Wayne.
Streets of Fort Wayne.
Streets of Fort Wayne back in the early 70s.
So, okay, do you have an implant? Do you have an implant to this day?
Actually, I have no idea. I think the technology might be different on who it was, what it was, but I did have something removed from my right leg, and it confused the surgeon. He thought it was just going to be a little biomass, and the surgery took substantially longer. Instead of being a small incision, it was actually several inches long. He said there was a hard nodule in my leg with a filament running down my leg, and he did not know what it was. And as far, I've had people say, well, did you save it? Did they analyze it? I was just going to ask. Okay, this is the early 70s. They didn't do that. The doctor just pulled something out of my leg, didn't know what it was, and they pitched it. But as he described it, was kind of like a oval seed, not a seed, not organic, but something hard that he could not identify what it was made out of, nor did he understand the filament that could not be cut that extended 3 inches out of it.
And was that filament attached to a nerve, or like you said, the neural interface?
Okay, I wasn't conscious. The doctor snatched it out of my leg, thought it was going to be a little biomass.
Like a lipoma or something.
Ended up some sort of hard, non-biomass center with a filament 3 inches long running out of it.
Wow.
But it was the early 70s. But actually, I was having sightings in the 70s in Fort Wayne, too. I was talking about earlier about that little starburst thing going on. Yeah. Yeah, I watched that in my backyard. Oh. But it was there for everybody to see, but people don't look up, and they don't think about it being anything or impart any kind of attitude about it. They just glance up, see lights, and keep on going and don't think anything about it.
Do you recall what the inside of the craft looked like? Could you give any description about features of the craft, features of the being?
I remember 2 tiers. I was down on 1 tier, and actually the only time I saw any instrumentation was when the taller ones had agreed to let me pilot the vessel. They looked motioned towards the other ones, the more demure ones, and they were on the back. I was on the other side of the panel. They were touching something mechanical, some sort of, it could have been a flat screen. I don't know, a touch sensor, or it could have been a switch. Yeah. But they were doing something.
Wow. I got a million.
I know.
So
the big question is, am I smart because they were messing with me, or were they messing with me because I was smart?
Yeah, right.
I did tie Einstein's lifetime scores when I was 17.
Did you really?
145 to 160.
Whoa.
I actually didn't know. I knew Einstein was smart, but he's not the smartest, highest IQ in the world. There are 180s, 190s out there. Is what you process it. How do you deal with it? But yeah, when I was 16, 17, I was tying his lifetime scores.
And maybe that's why they were interested, or vice versa.
But actually, they also follow families. I've got siblings that have had experiences.
I've heard that.
Actually, one time I was in New Mexico, woke up, there were 2 slashes on one finger, 2 slashes on another finger, 1 slash on a thumb, and a divot out of my forehead when I looked in the mirror to comb my hair. Well, a friend of mine was with me. They wake up, same marks on their body.
Whoa.
I called my sister. And I started to tell her, and she said, shut up right now. Actually, she said a little bit more, but let me tell you. And she proceeded to tell me about the 2 slashes on one finger, 2 slashes on another finger, 1 slash on a thumb, and a divot out of her forehead.
Wow.
The same morning.
Yeah, we've certainly heard the following.
She was thousands of miles away.
Wow.
What year was this? What year was this? Like when?
Elmore, New Mexico. That would have been 2007.
Wow. On a completely unrelated note, I've already cast you as Gary Cole in the movie of our lives. Lumbergh from Office Space.
I never watched it.
Yeah, I don't know the reference. Lumbergh. Which one was Lumbergh?
The boss with the coffee mug.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it.
He was also in Pineapple Express as a bad guy.
If you can cut me a check for this interview, that would be great. That dude? Yeah, that would be great, dude.
Memories of abduction, craft, flying the craft, neural interface.
Like, as far as you could chalk it up to repetitive dreams. What's the term for that? You have the same dream again and again and again, but mine changed, mine altered. It was progression and flying the craft and all that. And instead of flipping a switch to let me pilot the craft, they could have been implanting the memory. What I'm saying is nothing's sure because I have this was, like I said, back in the 60s and early 70s that all this happened.
Yeah.
We worked with I worked with a guy who was my boss, and Jay actually he was writing a book about his abduction experiences, and Jay was editing it for him. But he told me that when they were putting him back through his ceiling into his bed, he's like, because they can move you through physical objects don't mean anything to them. So they'd be putting me back in my bed and saying things to me like telepathically, like, take me to your leader and we're not here to harm you and things like that while he's getting put back in his bed. And
it was a lie.
My thought
not
was
the ones that said we're not here to harm you.
Oh well,
that was
but my thought was with these statements he was telling me, he's like, okay, well the aliens probably have some very good knowledge about our culture of them, and they probably know how they appear in our pop culture and stuff since the 50s and even before, and so they're probably saying things like this to him. So when he repeats it to other people, they're like, "You're crazy." And just discount what he says automatically because he's saying these cliche things. Oh, aliens told me to take me to your leader, and people would be like, "Come on, you're not. That's not true." What do you? What is your opinion of that? Is that like?
It's all part of the show. There's an agenda. They want you to believe that they're our friends. They're here to help.
Yeah.
And brings us back to the same thing I'll never leave is Jesus. It's all a deception.
Wow.
And hopefully we'll be able to see that in a Gods and Aliens movie. If they pick it up for a miniseries on HBO or something, I'll get my own episode.
Hey, all right. Give us a shout out.
Yeah. That means a flight to LA for a behind-the-scenes making of. And this time, instead of an independent, it'll be HBO cutting the check.
Nice. Great.
See, I don't know if it's too much, but like your opinion on with religion, with Jesus, and with the aliens, the devil and God, because like my gut feeling, I always thought my whole life it's there's a lot with Jesus and God. I believe a lot of that. I just feel that a lot of it's mistold. what's your
I don't try to do the math about God and Jesus. It's a leap of faith. I don't have proof. In this corporeal form, I cannot present proof. It's a leap of faith.
And so is what they say, just the faith. Just go with the faith.
And if you ever find the faith, it's like everything becomes clear. People say, "Well, I know in my heart they're still alive, or I know in my heart they're dead." Yeah. If you actually find your faith, true faith in Jesus, and not going through the motions, like up, down, kneel, stand, down, kneel, take some sacramental wine and get sprinkled en masse, when you actually have the connection with God, with the Father, with the Son, and you're filled with the Holy Spirit, you know the truth.
Yeah, I've heard that a million times. Maybe I just question everything way too much right now.
Well, just curiosity doesn't hurt anything.
Right.
Well, unless you work for the government.
Curiosity gets you killed. Where we're staying in Alamo, a gentleman who works there told us about area.
Can I pause you here?
Sure.
Listen.
Oh yeah, the airplanes. They're not commercial. Oh, they're close.
Commercial flights don't do
right,
here.
Exactly. And they can't fly here commercial. Yeah, just big rumbling.
Yep. Sometimes you can hear them, but you can't see them. Sometimes you can see them and you can't hear them. But most often you can't see them, you can't hear them, and they're right there.
Oh, man. I would kill to be able to experience that.
You should get a job in the government.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm very happy where I'm at. But Area 52. Area 51 Cemetery. Area 6. These are things that were told to us when we pulled into town in Alamo. Any truth? Have you ever heard of an Area 51 cemetery where failed experiments are put out to pasture? Or
there's whole tracts of land that prior versions of stuff is stored. Yeah.
Because they supposedly there's like FEMA death camps.
Well, they used to burn a lot, but then they got some people suing the test site for the open burning and all that.
Right.
But they couldn't do anything because they had to show evidence that was classified. So I think the burning has been cut back, so they got to be storing this stuff someplace.
Do you believe there's carbon-based life forms in the ground somewhere that we don't understand? In other words, are there aliens buried out in an Area 51 cemetery?
Buried out there? I doubt highly that they were just buried in the yard.
Or a top secret.
Because that would be an internal source of DNA.
Yeah.
If you actually got one, you'd be having it stored in a cryo chamber, unless it's still alive.
Wow.
But what do they eat?
Right, yeah.
How many missing persons does the Earth have a year?
What do you think happened in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947?
Ooh.
I think a United States military craft used a directed energy weapon to take it down.
Now, do you
Nice.
believe... I actually wrote kind of a short story about how that ship was actually a reverse-engineered government experiment with hybrid human-alien pilots in it that tried to escape, and that's why they shot it down.
They've been doing chimeras for centuries.
Human-animal hybrids. Chimeras.
Yeah.
Correct. That's what you.
Well, actually,
that's what you said.
the EU, UK, they just passed or approved some laws several years before the U.S. did about human plus experimentation, DNA, genetic manipulation, chimeras.
Right.
I do know that would be great for military usage in some people's minds. Bigger, stronger, faster.
Right.
With a little cyborg built in.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, well, you can use YouTube to see the new cyborg suits that the Russians are building, and just everything's bigger, faster, stronger than you can imagine. And if you saw it in a science fiction movie, they can do it now.
Right.
What about like the FEMA death camps? I believe it was at Area 6.
I've seen the guillotines from orbit.
Whoa!
Wait.
You can Google them.
And
you don't know about the guillotines?
no,
I don't.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't know.
I think there were 10,000 ordered by the U.S. government.
Are they those
Wait.
the black caskets that could.
No, they get that. That's the thing that chops your head off.
No, they get,
Okay,
That was
no,
it.
no, no, yeah,
So
but I
you-
didn't know if they just called them. Okay.
Oh,
I
and
don't
those
know
black
if-
caskets can fit more than 2 or 3 bodies.
Right.
Okay.
It's
Right.
for mass. The plan is die in place. Everybody in the cities are going to die in place.
And I don't know if the listeners caught it because you asked a question or you made a comment, Joe. You said that 10,000 guillotines were ordered by the U.S. government, and they're here, right? Where
Oh no, not here. They're scattered all over the place.
all of the okay.
In closed factories that were bulldozed and reconstructed, in parks, in detention centers, and whatever you want to call it. They're everywhere.
Population control.
Well, what's left of the population control?
Agenda 21 tie. To
The FEMA camps are not going to hold 100 million, 200 million
No, of
people.
course not.
It's going to hold what's left of the U.S. population.
Crazy. Well,
Don't run. We're your friend.
Are you scared, Ken? Do you get frightened by this? Are you?
Not a bit. I may
Why not?
fear.
So many. I'm just going to use the word whistleblower just as a kind of blanket term. So many whistleblowers wind up dead, mysteriously gone, family threat, the whole nine. Right? Why aren't you afraid?
Well, number one, I'm not telling you any secrets. I'm just telling you my observations and what I hear. Number two, or actually back to number one, I may fear for my mortal life, but not my immortal soul.
There it is.
And do the powers that be, these global powers, now the U.S. government, the global powers, really feel that me talking to some dude from Lakeshore Drive or something is actual threat to their agenda? Or is it just purport their agenda more to give cause and alert to the alien idea rather than demonic?
it's weird.
Is
everything
it
has its
a sword that cuts
Everything
both
has its
ways?
purpose, yeah. Sword that
Right.
cuts it both ways. Yeah.
No, yeah, it makes sense too. Like I've never worried about we're small fries in the most rational way, and also the soul.
But something
right.
you said too, and I don't know if you
can't hear me?
meant it like this, is when you're talking about your mortal soul, and it's almost like there's good energy and bad energy. They want to take the lost soul, but they can't take the positive soul.
Or the
that make
saved soul,
sense?
maybe.
Okay, good and evil cannot exist in the same frequency length.
Yes.
It's just like whereas evil cannot exist in the presence of God because his wavelength, his energy wavelength, it overrides everything. It's like noise canceling technology from Bose,
Yeah.
No,
which is actually kind of how part of cloaking too. Is actually the old school, really old school was LED cameras on the front and the back. Was projection on the front was what was cambered off the back.
Right.
Next up was the nanites, grown crystals that redirect the light rays around the craft.
Yes.
And the new hotness, is a vibrational frequency that removes the craft, slightly phasing from the visible field of light. It's still there, but it's phased ever so slightly at a quantum level where you can't see it with your eyes, but it's there. Which is the same thing as those drones that are flying over your dining room head right now. They're here, but you can't sense them because they've been phased away.
I keep trying to shut off the skylight in the bathroom.
I mean, this is it's incredible. I mean, what we're getting is incredible. I mean, what do you think, Joe? I mean, this is right up your alley.
Yeah,
What do
this
you
is
think?
awesome. No,
Did you expect it to be like this?
No, it's just so many answers answered so fast.
I think we need to make a separate episode clarifying and going through the details of what we're talking about.
Yeah, so Ken stepped away to use the restroom, so we're just kind of talking. I want to. He's open to Skype as well, so I probably want to do a few follow-up Skype sessions with Ken.
I'm not even saying with him. I'm saying amongst ourselves. I almost want to have like a debriefing episode amongst ourselves about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just we're throwing fastballs and then curveballs and then balls that are silent and stealthy and noiseless.
Yeah, right.
So
Cold balls, yeah.
and then those straight ones. So and a lot of it is making sense, to me. A lot of it's new to me. Surprisingly, conversations I've had in the last this year, new conversations, very eerily similar to what he's talking about.
Really?
I'm not saying with the Area 51 per se, but like his own beliefs on the frequencies of stuff and things like that.
Yeah, I want to ask him another question.
Another?
Yeah.
Just one, you mean?
At some
There's
point,
like 50.
we gotta
No, yeah, just
give him his time back.
One
Yeah.
specific.
We're at 90, by the way.
11:34.
Jay?
Yes, sir.
We're at 90.
90 minutes?
Mhm.
That's
Roughly.
It seems like it was 5 minutes.
Wow.
Roughly, yeah.
That's crazy. I'll pass the mic back over to Ken.
No, give him that one.
Yeah.
Can I-
Sorry. It's specifically set for
I just want. I want.
You guys got to figure it out.
Yes, we're good.
Anything can happen. It's a magical, mystical night, and we're also on a live recording.
Yeah, live-ish. Live-ish. This isn't...
Not you.
Yeah.
What?
I know you meant that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kind of.
I'm on like 3 hours.
You have you expand your mind.
Yeah,
You gotta think outside of self.
You're right.
And if it doesn't sound plausible, perhaps that your understanding of science and mathematics can be exceeded by somebody a couple of thousand or 12 years older than you.
Right.
What is your belief on crystals holding energy? I
Well,
really
it's-
didn't think anything of it until I started like holding them and having them around.
You do understand that they're growing crystals now for data storage, quantum level computing,
Yes.
and they're not being manufactured; they're being grown. They got to pretty much work in theory if they're growing crystals to do this.
Mm-hmm. And
If we can grow crystals to hold data and interact in a technological way, natural crystals should be able to have some sort of vibrational memory to it as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Wow.
I know. It's a deep, dark hole when you start talking about this stuff.
Well, what I do is I'll take the math and the science, what little understanding I have of it, take what other people have shared with me, and their understanding of it, but also too their feelings on it, their emotions. I'm somewhat empathic. I don't read minds, but gifts of the spirit are without repentance, and I just sense things that I shouldn't know. Or actually, I take that back. I sense things that is not in modern times traditional for knowing, but with the calcification of the pineal gland,
Yeah.
the dumbing down of America. Fortunately, I don't drink fluoride.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
It's also amazing how our entertainment shows a lot of this stuff. Like the crystals for data, there is literally an episode of something funny where they just in passing show that as a possibility of
really?
an alien using
Crystal
that.
data storage?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And they're growing it in their chamber, and they just pick it off the rock.
Incredible.
It reminded me
Sometimes
of that.
people, too, are readily impressed. What is a natural occurrence, they consider a phenomena or something amazing, and it just happens all the time.
Right,
It's all
right,
based
right.
on interpretation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think that mankind used to have a lot more abilities than we have right now, but it's been calculated to dumb us down.
And yeah, just talking about that and crystals. I mean, for years just the abilities that I had, just feeling and knowing. When I started getting into crystals, it was like a cheat, like a video game cheat. Like I couldn't really
To
comprehend
get rid of a symptom or to heighten this or
exactly
suppress that.
Or a
Yes.
pair of eyeglasses,
Yes.
spectacles
Yes, it
for the
enhanced
nearsighted.
everything. Yes, it enhanced everything.
I like the way you compare it to a video game cheat. They have these crystals.
Game Genie.
if I knew how to do it
remember.
without, and then having it, and it's weird. Like I mean, like, for example, like the first one, I have a huge problem with inflammation, and I don't know if it's just from feeling so much and everything just being pulled, and it's hard to release. But like when I got green calcite, it helped. For some
it
reason I
helped
was
me
drawn
too.
to it. All of a sudden, the inflammation started going away. My thoughts became clearer and pulled away, and I was seeing more, feeling more. The rock even changed color, and then when I read the metaphysical properties of it, I was like, oh my, inflammation, what? And the more I got into it, I was an unbeliever till it happened.
Well, let me start off with, it is not a question of learning how to do something, it's remembering. Remember.
True. Yeah.
at one time you knew what this was before you were stuck in this podgy little bones and flesh bag of mostly water.
And for example, smells. I know that smell. I've smelled it before in a past life, or cause I just believe we keep on going and going. And
well, like I said, according to Elizabeth Clare, and you said some of the books like Book of Enoch was related. Well, Constantine supposedly had everybody's good intentions going, but I find highly unlikely that God sent Jesus to Earth so I could report to somebody in a box.
Right.
Oh, we were going to save that conversation till after.
It's okay. I hate to do it, but we got to start bringing it to a close. I know you're on a time. We still have to, because we haven't even taken a break. You have a massive file.
Well, you know,
somewhere around
I was
90.
planning on being here one night like you, but yet this is 10 years later. You never know what's going to happen.
No, my family will send out the search dogs and the guys.
No, your car may break down. You'll be here a week.
Yeah.
God, don't say that. I'll lose my job. I got to be in Texas on Monday.
you just
I have no life. I'm cool.
And I covet my job. So
Delta's ready when you are.
might get a flat tire from a fang
I
from a
wanna
rattlesnake.
just- yeah. Oh, thanks, Joe. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you
I
get-
killed the only rattlesnake we saw. There
If you
it
get
is.
stranded out
Murder.
here in the desert by Area 51, just put your hood up, because if you're like elderly or broke or somebody is going to notice, and they'll call somebody. Now, it just
Right, we're not really alone.
Every time somebody has a flat tire, the test site does not call up and, hey, we got a stranded motors out here. But if there's something going on that somebody might see, just a big thing is put your hood up.
That's a nice thing to know, because
and unless you have a weapon, stay with your vehicle.
Oh no.
Well,
Why?
Mountain lions, bobcats,
Oh, okay.
coyotes, badgers.
We got Dave. I'll just shove him in front of whatever predator comes our way.
That's true. It was too salt. Yeah.
I thought Dave was the biggest predator.
I have a way with animals. I'll just talk to them and talk them down.
But thank you for the advice. It's good to know we're not.
One
stranded
thing about the
for
big reveal: prepare yourselves, gentlemen, for a new scale of physical scientific values.
In what way? In what capacity?
You have no idea.
For what end?
For what end? We already talked about this. It's a battle for your soul. And actually, there is somebody I know who has a higher security clearance than the president, and they will not watch the movie Signs. It makes them uncomfortable because...
That's right, the whole metaphysical aspect.
It makes them uncomfortable because it is so close to the truth. They're here for a
Mel Gibson said
They are
it's
here for a harvest.
I love Mel Gibson movies.
And that the mental,
the
metaphysical
gold,
connection.
the gold, the blood, the flesh,
Wow.
and your soul. It's going to be a banquet. I also heard, though, that the reptilians, although they're meat eaters, do not care for the flesh of smokers.
Give me that American Spirit, please.
Yeah.
I quit smoking.
American
but
Spirit that has the 0 chemicals versus the 4,300
That's right.
chemicals in that other cigarette somebody's toting in their pocket today.
That's right. I went from Camel Wides to American Spirits to vaping.
I'll tell you what, my sinuses, my lungs, my general health, my complexion all got better when I
picked up the
the spirits
Yeah.
instead of the Marlboros.
Yeah, we used to enjoy those as well. I'm trying to think. So we didn't take a break. I would like you to pick a song. Usually we have the guest choose a song, anything they want. Only on this one, we'll have it play the episode out. So before we adjourn, choose a song, we'll put that in. But I want to kind of bring it all to a close for now. I would like to have you back maybe on Skype at some point. I hope we become friends because you're just fascinating.
Oh, well, you know where I'll be at. I'm not going anywhere.
Right. Well, I don't know when I'm going to be back out here next time, especially, But anyway.
It's far too exciting living out here. The people that come out here to visit, they think I'm going to get bored. No.
Wow.
There's the air shows on a regular basis.
We saw one coming in near Nellis.
But then there's people like you from all over the world. Some have tinfoil hats. Some are NASA engineers. Some are Department of Defense. A lot of military. I know opera singers in Liverpool. I know couple of dudes, couple of bravest men I know live in Bahrain.
Bahrain. Wow.
What's your belief with the tinfoil hats? Where I forgot what it's made from. I'm not tin. Well, I mean, yeah, you could use tinfoil, but
so I think let me see. I think he's classifying a type of.
No, I know.
Okay, just
but the actual physical tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
people sell those now.
I forgot the name of it.
Okay, let's air quote a new study that was actually tested, and brainwave frequencies were emitted, and it actually acts as an amplification for the mind control frequencies.
Because it was supposedly like blocks like microwave signals, but like you said, it amplifies it.
They're pretty smart. I don't think some Reynolds rap is going to stop their agenda.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You know,
they're
do you think it helps?
No, but scientifically, it amplifies the mind control signals. Which actually, talking about how they're going to take over the world. Number one is the brainwave frequencies. It can be overwritten. Like you've got a song playing on the radio, and then you've got a big boombox coming over, and the song's still playing, but what you're hearing is the boombox. They've actually been doing this for decades, recording brainwave activity when exposed to different stimuli, and they replicate that scientifically, and they can overwrite your own thoughts. You think they are yours, but they've been implanted with a brainwave mind control frequency.
Yeah, like frequencies, vibration.
Okay, when this big deception happens, you cannot trust your eyes. You have to trust your heart.
Well, I don't know where to go. I want to go so many places.
Where do you want to go?
I just want to go so many places. But
the theme song from when I had the radio show in Vegas, Higher Vibrations, and when I make guest appearances on restricted airspace.
Okay.
Agent 51. We'll take the theme song I had, Secret Agent Man.
Secret Agent Man. Okay, cool. Oh, okay, so Agent 0051, the significance?
Oh, 0051. Oh, it looked really good on my Jag.
So, no, okay. 'Cause I want to know...
License plate, tags.
I want to know who's 0001 to 0050, you know? So it's just something cool, moniker.
I was on my way to Tonopah because they had the Nevada test site license plates available for vanity plates.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what would be allowed in the letters and numbers that was required, and HET51, Agent 51, just popped in my head.
Nice.
On the way to get my tags. And it looked really hot on that Jag.
It's memorable, that's for sure. Could people, Ken, reach out to you personally? Do you have any contact information? Do you want to provide anything? If people had questions, stories, they just want to pick your brain and bounce ideas. Are you open to that?
I'm kind of slacked off the social media because I've just grown beyond it. Come to Rachel, hang out at the bar.
The Little Alien.
Yeah.
Little Alien. I heard you guest bar. You bartend there occasionally, throw drinks and.
Oh, actually, there was a print media reporter out here doing a travel blog, and I was at the bar. They were busy, and I had got up and busted a couple of tables. Well, they're my friends. I was helping, right. And then I'd gone behind the bar. I made myself a drink and took my tab and made my mark on it. And what came out in the print media was that I was busting tables to pay my bar tab.
Oh, no.
I was busting tables because they're my friends. I was helping. And the bar tab is, I live here, where am I going to go? It's easier than carrying my wallet every time I step into the inn.
Yeah, I remember Connie from the Alien said you guys are neighbors, right? Did she live next to you or in close proximity to?
Actually, one thing I refer to Rachel as is less of a small town and more like a large extended family. We don't always all get along, but if an emergency occurs, they got your back, whether they're fond of you or not. And my own personal categorization or phrase for Rachel is an autonomous collective of established personalities.
Ooh. What's that acronym? Wait, autonomous collection of established personalities. ACEP. Oh, nothing there. I was wondering if it was a clever acronym, that's all.
Now, would that be an acronym or an initialism?
I like acronym.
Acronym is when you can sound it out in a word like NASA. Or FBI would be an initialism.
Fine. Oscar, edit my
NASA would
mistake.
be an acronym.
Oscar said no.
Please understand. Right,
well, he was trying to find out if it was an acronym.
That's right. That's right.
An acronym is when you can say it. An initialism is when it's just the letters.
Right.
Got it. But still, it's cool. I like the way you classify Rachel. So contact, if they wanted to, stop in the Little Alien.
Yep.
Correct? Got it.
Well, I got an open page on Facebook. That doesn't mean I'm going to friend you. but I don't post a lot.
Ken Langley on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm the only Ken Langley and Rachel.
As it sounds,
It's
Langley.
an open page. There's nothing hidden. I just don't post often.
Is it ironic, Langley, what you're into, what we're talking about, and Virginia? Last name in
No,
Virginia,
actually,
CIA?
Actually, some of it we were talking about were they studying me because I was smart? My genealogical background, Langley was who my paternal grandmother married. He is descended from Samuel P., the dude that everything's named after. And her mother was the granddaughter of Charles Eckhart, who manufactured the Auburn, the Cord, and the Duesenberg.
Duesenberg,
Well,
okay.
Charles Eckhart, yeah.
Old Chicago
I
gangster.
got a coffee table book over there. But yeah, that was my great-grandmother's, Allie Eckhart. Charles Eckhart was her grandfather. And Allie married Elwood Haynes' brother. Elwood Haynes would be the gentleman that invented stainless steel, manufactured the Haynes-Apperson, the first internal combustion engine motor car in America. He was also the first self-made millionaire on planet Earth. He became a millionaire at the age of 20-something in 1920-something. In today's dollars, that would be more like Bill Gates money.
Jeez. At 20, God, I'm an underachiever.
But generations,
I
five
thought I achieved a
generations.
lot.
My ancestors are 5 generations of scientists, inventors, entrepreneurs, and it's like whereas in the European continent, princess would marry a duke's son or something to keep all the power. In America, we didn't have the aristocracy. What we did have was masters of industry.
What
And it was absolutely an arranged marriage to have scientists, inventors, children, and grandchildren and brothers marrying through the generations. And I'm a product of all that.
Industry meshing.
What business were you in?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, in the 1960s, I was a competitive accordion player.
Competitive accordion
Yeah,
player. That's a first.
I can't imagine there's a lot of competition for that.
This is back during Lawrence Welk days, sir.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember my great grandparents had.
I'm older than you.
ancient
in
accordions.
the late 60s and early 70s, I was a competitive accordion player. I was on a circuit. I do tours.
Wow.
In the mid 70s, I was working for hospitality industry. 78, I was taking radium physics at IU, and I picked up a nursing arts degree back when I was 17. And I worked for an industrial chemical lab, titrations, polyurethane reaction injection and molding for a while. I worked at CNN for a while, which talks about the AI. I had a caller. I worked for human resources, not human resources, public relations. Had a caller, was talking about out of breath. He just escaped from Area 51, and he wanted to get the word out before they caught him. And he said, Supermind is fully activated.
Supermind is fully activated.
Meaning an AI intelligence computer that was turned on, that could be never turned off, and was going to control our lives forever. He said on one of the second calls, because he was only talking a few seconds at a time, on a second or third call, oxygen will be your meat and potatoes from this time on, time being of the essence. Cryptic, whatever, but what he was talking about, Supermind is fully activated, is about the same time that some other people talking about AI was probably utilized for the first time by the powers that be. So I'm pretty sure he knew what he was talking about. But after that, I worked in the hospitality industry.
Moving on.
I worked in retail. Air Force kicked me out after 6 months. It was an honorable discharge.
Okay. Yeah.
They didn't like who I was dating.
Understood.
It's a sad story.
Do you want
Or
to
is it?
Do you want to tell it? Or?
It's like the butterfly effect. I have had an incredible life, and I would not change a thing.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And here we are. Was this a good experience for you?
Oh,
Talking with us?
it's all about choices. I have an outstanding day every time my eyes open. I get out of bed that's soft with a roof over my head. I have ambulatory capabilities. I got all my digits. It's an amazing day every day.
And I hope we made it even more amazing.
Well, actually, that's why I said the biggest thing about living out here in Rachel, we get the free air shows, but I get to meet different people from different parts of the world, everyone's got their own personality. Everyone has their intellectual capacity, their life experiences, and I could just belly up to the little alien, and you'd never know what you're going to get.
One of the things
Love
I
it.
noticed about Nevada
Love
is
it.
almost everybody you meet here is from somewhere else. Like, are there any like native?
There's not a lot of people here.
Is there any like native Nevadans?
Yeah, some of my neighbors are born and raised out here, or come from rancher families, or.
And the Native Americans.
But I spent nearly 3 decades in or close to Atlanta, and there's not a lot of people in Atlanta from Georgia.
Oh, well,
Now, Billy Carter, he was from Georgia. He was a fun man. But Miss Lillian, she held my hand and her eyes twinkled while she was kissing me. Jimmy's mama. She was a sweetheart. Oh, I did spend 2 days at Jimmy Carter's house.
did you really?
Yeah, in 76. He was the seated president. Chris Everett and the Phoenix Rackets were playing charity matches with the Soviet, at that time, Soviet Olympic tennis team.
Okay.
And that's how I met, Jimmy I met 3 times. But Billy, I used to just drink with him when he was at the bar at the same time I was. But Miss Lillian I met that day, and she was a delight, a true, absolute definition of a lady.
Wow. What a story. You mentioned Carter.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, they were locals.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter. Now, I just want to reference. I don't know where to stop. I can't stop.
Oh.
You have a signed birthday card, I believe it was, from the Bushes right behind us. Is that correct? Is that? I don't touch it.
Bush 41 and the missus.
Bush 41 and the Misses. Yeah, signed to you. You have a lot of interesting artifacts from CIA that were awarded to you. A Spock statue that's been in outer space.
I got the one little thing over here and the one pin that came from the Obama White House.
Correct.
Signed by
mounted
the
to your
Director of the
wall.
United States Secret
to
Service.
yourself.
Contributions with honor.
Contributions with honor.
Is what it was for. Most of the stuff in the house, though, was actually gifts from friends and family.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, some
I'd
cool,
never received
cool
a paycheck.
stuff.
As friends and family.
Very cool stuff.
What?
Well, thanks for for honor. What you were just mentioning with the.
Don't forget Mr. Spock bobblehead.
Right, I mentioned the Mr.
Oh.
Spock who's been to space.
Oh, that's what the convincing part of it is the documentation and the photograph of him in space.
Yeah,
It's
and
really cool.
I gotta
The bobblehead I could buy at the store, but the
Gotta have
documentation.
bobbleheads go up.
Well, I just thought it was very generous of my sis to commission a Mr. Spock bobblehead to go into space for my birthday. It was a very unique gift.
Yeah, and just to bring it home, Joe Erie had a very unique dream last night of something he's never dreamt about before, Star Trek, specifically the Star Trek symbol, that little rounded spaceship, sort of the iconic Star Trek symbol.
Yeah,
Sure enough,
the Wizard of Oz in Star Trek.
in Star
Well,
Trek.
I guess I should pull out my Starfleet Academy class ring.
well,
The what?
My Starfleet Academy class ring.
I'm the only Trekkie.
yeah.
Which has never had been available online. It was only available at Star Trek: The Experience, formerly the Las Vegas Hilton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I went there a couple of times. Actually, I was there for the decommissioning ceremony.
Ah.
Met that Deep Space Nine dude. What was his name?
I never really
Oscar
watched.
Mayer.
Yeah, it
Scott
was kind of
Bakula?
before my time.
The captain from Deep Space Nine. Yeah, I saw him down at the decommissioning ceremony.
Well, what was interesting about the dream you never had about Star Trek,
Yeah,
the Star Trek symbol.
the Wizard of Oz, and then all of a sudden, boom, Star Trek, and then it was that symbol, and I'm like, why am I? And I'm like, okay, like I thought it might have been yesterday about the motel we were at, and I was pulling something off of one of the spirits, but I'm like. And when I told you guys, on the way, I'm like, man, it was weird. It meant something. Because I know when things have a meaning.
Right.
It meant something. It
and
meant
then
something.
flash forward when we walk into Ken's home, first thing he showed us basically was what?
Yeah, the Star Trek.
Well, something about my email address. You might have something to do with Star Trek in your mind too.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I'm not broadcasting my email on the radio. Remember my email address?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Yeah, well, I got that when I was Google testing beta. Beta testing Google Mail.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
But as far as, I do Trek stuff too, but also you are actually physically on the other side of the rainbow right now, Dorothy.
Ooh.
When you came across that last mountain, you went through a trans-dimensional vortex. You were actually on the other side of the known universe as we speak.
Something I'm just gonna say.
And I would give you the pot of gold, but it was eminent domain into the test site.
While we were here, I wasn't even going to say anything, but I have been. I don't know, Dave. I've been seeing auras and waves of white.
Have you noticed
just
anything?
moving, like just energy moving.
Yeah, well, a couple of local dogs will pick a corner of somebody's room and stare at it all the time, too, and actually talk and make moves with their head like they're interacting with something that you're not seeing. But then again, the dog probably doesn't have a calcified pineal gland.
From?
Fluoride.
Any advice for a couple of guys like us that want to go investigate on-site Area 51? I know there's a back gate. Suggest it, don't suggest it, stay away from it.
Oh, you can go see anything you want, just don't cross the line.
And lines are clearly designated.
And they will arrest 12 to 15 actors from Great Britain when they all decide to go under the gate and do the hokey pokey. And
no.
Yes, they did. They all went to jail.
Oh.
I was managing a hotel, and the maids were confused because the 14-something rooms that were supposed to be remakes had never been slept in. They were all in jail.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
Well, then you could be with one of the guys like what was that? They're heathens. They had got some sort of award or won a contest or you talking about?
I don't.
A television show. They drive around the country, Redneck Vacations. That's what it was.
I've never seen it.
Redneck Vacations. Well, the Redneck Vacations, they had somebody had won a lottery or something, but they're all rednecks and they travel around Redneck Vacations.
Love it.
Well, yeah, they were filming out here, and somebody fired up a hooter at the back gate, and they actually did call the police on them.
Wow. Okay.
That was before recreational in Nevada.
Oh, okay, yeah, because now you could. I know.
You can buy weed
Legal
here now.
marijuana, right? Yeah,
you can buy weed here now.
So
at
that
the
was
store,
before that.
just like a bottle of whiskey.
They fired up at the back gate. Bad idea.
Well, they were really tolerant, but filming yourself smoking weed
Dumb.
at a government installation
Dumb.
is really not good for. They really didn't care about the guy smoking dope. It was because they were filming it in front of the back gate.
Yeah,
it wouldn't read well.
Understood.
If it's supposed to be super secret, how come they're smoking weed at the back gate when it comes out on TV? It wouldn't read well.
All right, makes sense.
But according to the film crew, that never happened.
Well, this has been more than I imagined. It was great. Thank you for the hospitality.
Well,
Thank you.
come on up, have a scone.
Yeah,
the scones
I should
are good.
Before I leave, I had one of your donuts.
Red, white
donut
chocolate.
holes.
I want to ask one more question.
All right, go for it. One more question.
Well, okay, so
Because we have to.
I've had pieces of my life on a cutting room floor before.
I work out of O'Hare. Okay, there's been a couple instances where there's been a lot of people that have seen stuff hovering over O'Hare.
It's everywhere. People just don't pay attention.
I just didn't know.
They pass it off. I couldn't have seen that, or what was that? Well, it wasn't what I thought it was. But I've seen small drones doing the same maneuvers that the big craft do with gravity manipulation. I've seen 4 jets come out of a hypersonic, boom, 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 and they're doing 90-degree turns at near Mach 1.
Wow.
Stuff that is physically, according to traditional scientific values, isn't possible. I've seen out here on a regular basis. Whoa. And all you got to do is come out and hang around a day or a week. There was one girl, I was outside the inn, about 10 of us down there. She had just pulled up, was walking around taking photographs of the spaceship and the saucer and all that at the inn, and said, "How long do you have to hang out here to see something?" I said, "I don't know, an hour a week. A day, you never know. Just hang out and keep your eyes open." It wasn't 5 minutes. There's, like I said, 10 or 12 of us. There were 2 jets flying across the desert floor, maybe 50, 100 feet off the ground. And the trailer plane, all of a sudden, it just wasn't there. It didn't fade out. It didn't zip away. It didn't explode. The second jet just was not there. And a dozen of us saw this. So there's a limited potential for possibilities. One is it was a holographic image, which could be used in a battlefield scenario. in the operating theater, convincing another jet that is a. They do it in Star Trek all the time. The Klingon birds of prey, the Klingon birds of prey, or something, the Romulan ships and all that.
So much sense.
The fake them so they think there's more of you. It could have been something like that, or it could have gone through a transdimensional vortex and disappeared, or it could have just cloaked. But 12 of us saw the second jet, and then not the second jet.
Incredible.
Something I was.
And this is the middle of the day, clear blue sky. It just wasn't there.
Something I was kind of getting at too is I've heard it's like an unspoken thing where pilots cannot talk about seeing anything in the sky because they're afraid they'll get fired.
That's because they're people that look at the sky for a living. Everything up there is for everybody to see. You can just look at it all day, all night, anywhere you're gone. I've seen stuff in Atlanta that had no wings, that looked like a missile, but was traveling at 100 miles an hour or less, which was not a missile, but it had no wings. But it just people just don't pay attention. But pilots are paid to look at where they're going.
Yeah,
and they're looking at the sky, so it happens all the time.
But they don't talk about it.
They want their job.
Right.
Exactly. For fear.
Good question. And yeah, there's been a lot of sightings over here caught on.
Well, if you got 10,000 pilots all come out at the same time and said they're here, they're around us, we see them every day, that might even make it to mainstream media.
God forbid.
They're not ready for that yet. When you flip on the news and it's on every station, then you'll know it's time.
I can't wait for that day.
Oh, jeez.
Guys, we got to unfortunately bring it to a close. Again, Ken, thank you.
You're always welcome.
Great
Thank you very
interview.
much, Ken.
Very hospitable. Thank you for the spread, coffee, and for the great information. I guess at this point, Katie Knight, take us home.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the SOS-Radio podcast. Search SOS-Radio podcast on iTunes and give us a rating. Download our free mobile app by searching Supernatural Occurrence Studies on Google Play, Apple App Store, and Amazon App Store. Visit us online for ghostly photos that coincide with our podcasts, videos, and other exclusive content at sos-radio.com, chicagosos.com, and supernaturaloccurrencestudies.com. Follow us on Facebook at sos-radio.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chicago Ghosts. Subscribe to the Chicago's own Supernatural Occurrence Studies YouTube channel for exclusive video content. Follow Jason Knight on Google+. That's Knight, N-H-Y-T-E. Email us at submissions@sos-radio.com and call or text anytime at 872-529-0SOS. That's Chicago's area code, 872-529-0767.
And as always, kind listeners, keep your head up, eyes open, and question everything.
Want to save your soul from hell, riding on our range. Cowboy, change your ways today. Oh. With us you will ride. Heaven's heard.